All-Gen Terraria was a bit weird to say the least, introducing all sorts of version exclusives during the console release. And while this was mostly cool and interesting stuff like new weapons, armor, and of course the legendary boss Ocram, we also received a handful of exclusive enemies all throughout progression. Today, we'll be taking a trip down memory lane and exploring 14 All-Gen exclusive enemies that have been brought back to life in modern Terraria using the Constellaria mod. Before we jump into it though, if you enjoy videos like these, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to help support the channel. Alright, let's begin. We're first going to head to the desert and take a look at the albino antlion. Quite obviously, this is a reskin of the regular antlion, but it's white and has literally no other differences other than that. So yeah, not much going on here. So what about some other desert enemies, like the spectral and shadow mummy? Both of these were slightly buffed versions of the regular and dark mummy, only worse in every way. Not only did they have extra hit points, but were incapable of dropping the blindfold, megaphone, and trifold map, making farming for the Ankh charm ridiculously time consuming. Next up, we'll be heading to the underground corruption and looking at possibly the most boring enemy of the bunch, the Shadow Slime, a slightly weaker version of the corrupt slime that doesn't split into slimelings upon death. Weirdly, this variant does have slightly higher defense though, but other than that, everything's pretty normal. Next, we have our final corrupt enemy variant, the Shadow Hammer. Obviously being based on the Cursed Hammer, this variant is an odd one, having a whopping 12 more defense and dropping a range of hard mode bars instead of the Nazar. Yeah, this was one of those All-Gen enemies you really didn't want to encounter early in your hard mode journey. Up next, we'll be heading to the jungle, starting off with the Dragon Hornet. Man, where do I even start with these things? Essentially, if the underground jungle wasn't hard enough already, Dragon Hornets were a tankier version which couldn't drop the Beezor, making them entirely useless. Yeah, these things were annoying, and it continues with our next enemy, the Dragon Snatcher. Once again, the devs were feeling extra evil and filled our jungles with a buffed version of the Snatcher, which dealt more damage, moved faster, and had more health. Lovely. On the plus side, its banner looked quite nice though. Moving away from the jungle, we have the Hallowed, first presenting us with the Spectral Gastropod, a more annoying version of the already annoying Gastropod that, despite having more health, didn't offer any extra rewards other than a bit more gel. How generous. Speaking of generosity, if you ever farmed for the Rod of Discord on All-Gen, you'll probably remember the pain of half your elemental spawns being diluted by Spectral Elementals, a more powerful Chaos Elemental that couldn't drop the Rod of Discord. Let me just repeat that. This thing did not have it in the loot pool. Just why? Moving away from the Hallowed, we have some more unique exclusives that don't seem to follow much of a pattern, such as the Vampire Miner, a harder hitting tankier version of the Undead Miner, the Dragon Skull, a new version of the Cursed Skull which I actually thought looked quite cool but didn't offer anything new apart from more health. Hell was ruined by the absolute monstrosity that was the Archdemon, a gross looking version of the demon with more health and did nothing but make hunting for voodoo demons harder. The Oceans was spiced up with Orcas, a buffed version of the Shark which couldn't drop shark fins, slightly annoying. And last but not least, we have the majestically overpowered Arch Wyvern, a significantly buffed Wyvern with 8,000 hit points. Yes, they may have looked cool, but by god they were annoying. It seems the Constellaria mod has actually made them a little more interesting and given them some new drops too, so that's always nice to see. And with this, that's all 14 All-Gen exclusive enemies that were removed around the 1.3 update. For me, this was a huge nostalgia trip, but I'd love to hear if you were also one of the OGs who remember fighting these enemies of the past, and if not, what are your thoughts on them all? This has been sockrteez, and I'll see you in the next one.